Welcome, Jordan here. In today's video, I'm going to be answering a question. This question has been a concern for many of the men I've worked with, and I've seen this as a pattern that's kind of unfolded across the entrepreneurial community, different communities I support in, and across, a wide range of over 300 clients. And the question is this: if I go on the journey of doing the internal work and I start to show up from a place of peace, I start to let go of the fear, I start to let go of the lack, my ego starts to dissolve a little bit, will I still be motivated to actually achieve the things that I want to achieve? I have big goals, I have big aspirations, I have things I want to bring into my life. Are those things negative? Are those things bad? Or am I going to not want them at all? And funny enough, this is very, very common, and it's a completely valid question, like so valid, because we live in a time where these things are glorified. We see them on social media, we see them across different aspects of just, communities that we're in and all these different things. So to think that if you were to let go of some of the things that are actually driving you towards those, it would make sense to think that you're going to lose the ambition to want to achieve them. Now, we're going to get into the answer to this question, but the short answer is that you are not going to lose the aspiration, the motivation to achieve these things. But we're going to get into why in this video, and also how to balance the different energy of, really moving forward with intention, but also then being able to trust and surrender in the process as well. I have a couple of notes down here I'm going to be looking at. So if you see me looking down, I'm just going to reference a couple of things here that I really want to touch on, because what we're going to be doing is touching on different fuel sources that can actually help move you forward. We're going to be looking at the different archetype, right? The different archetype between the yogi and the warrior, and then know the season that you're in to know which archetype you're going to be embodying most. Now, of course, there's many archetypes. We're going to look at two for the sake of this video to keep it simple. And really my goal with this video for you is to have a clear mental model that you can apply in each area of your life, so that when you are moving forward with this intention and to move towards bringing things into reality, you can do it without sabotage, you can do it without burnout, and you can actually do it in a very aligned way that is aligned with your soul, aligned with your values, and aligned with a way that is going to benefit all aspects of your life, not just one, so you don't have to sacrifice anything along the way. So I'm excited. Let's dive in. So I'll never forget when I was working on my first business, it was a marketing agency. And previous to starting this business, I had lived a life of kind of this carefree way of living, right? I was partying a lot. I was meeting a lot of people. I had a great social life. And I was out and about just, living life. Any opportunity I could, I would go and travel somewhere. I would work a job abroad just to go and visit that country. And I did that for many, many years. So when I got into business and started working towards this goal I had of building a six-figure income for myself and being able to travel the world, that was my initial goal in the first 2 years. And I was able to achieve that. But along the way, what I did was sacrifice that old part of me, right? The more relaxed, the more surrender. Now, of course, that time in my life, I wasn't aware of any of this. So I wasn't really tapping into that yogi energy, but we'll get into that later in this video of what that really means, so you can really see how this applies to you. But what happened to me when I started to run this business was I started to get so deep into the warrior energy of grind, hustle, 16-hour days, really moving forward from a place of pure force, because I was under the interpretation that that's who I needed to be able to create the success that I wanted. Now, of course, I was able to generate some results with that, but it felt terrible. It felt horrible. It felt like force. It felt like it wasn't me. I felt like I was pretending. I felt like I was wearing a mask a lot of the time. And that was a very painful place to be. So even though I was hitting some of these goals along the way, and I was able to hit the goal that I initially set, and I was continuing to grow past that, I hit a low point in my life where I was like, okay, I can either keep growing this and keep moving this forward, but I really hate the energy that I'm living from. Like, everything about my life is revolved around this one goal. My life just felt like it didn't get any better. If anything, it got worse, but I was hitting these goals. And that was when I really started to realize that I was on a wrong path for me at least. And I was able to kind of take a step back and realize that I had been operating from this place of force. And this is something that goes deep. It's a deep pattern that, can be very common across entrepreneurs or high achievers or people who are looking to create an amazing thing in their life, right? And live an amazing life. Because the thing that drives us from many early stages in business, or even just throughout our career, it could go on for many, many years, is that state of fear, the state where you're running from something. And I know this was the case for me as well. I was running from things that had happened in the past, things I had not resolved, feelings that I wasn't able to feel or wasn't aware of that were running unconsciously. And that was the thing that was actually driving me. It was only when I started to lean into more of this yogi energy again, which was more of the relaxation, the meditation, the reflection, the taking space, and balancing that element of surrender with that intentional action I was taking, was when I kind of started to rebalance again. But that's actually when I found this new area I wanted to move into, which was truly the most exciting thing for me to do, which is my business today. So that reflection actually made me realize I was doing the wrong thing in the first place. So anyway, that was that whole journey for me. I share that because this was my first real introduction to see the difference between these two different energies, that yogi energy of the more relaxed state, the surrender, the trust, and the warrior energy, which is more of the action, the execution, the showing up. And they're both the fine balance of really what creates long-term sustainable success and balance in our life, so that we're not sacrificing ourselves along the way for these goals that we set. So let's dive into now some of the things that we can look at when it comes to these different archetypes, and some of the points I really want to hit with you here, so this drives home for you and you're able to apply this into your life. So to kick us off here, there's really two different types of fuel that we can really move from to really create anything in this life. And one of them is fear. The other one is love. When we operate from fear, we're operating from a fuel source that is not sustainable, because as we go throughout our life and we run away from this thing that we don't want to recreate, whether it's a circumstance, whether it's a certain event that happened in our life, we don't want to have the same thing happen again. We're running away from something, so we run towards something else so that we can get away from this. But the core energy behind it is, I don't want to experience this again. I don't want to recreate the same circumstance again. And this is a fear-based energy that drives all of the actions. Now, at some point, that fear has to dissolve, or kind of like in my case, you realize that, hey, this energy I'm building from does not feel good. And I refuse to adopt the belief that everything has to feel horrible all the time just for me to succeed. You can believe that if you want, but I just choose not to believe that. And if I'm running from something, then that means I have to address the thing I'm running from and to purify it, right? Which we'll get into a little bit later in the video, to be able to come from this place of love. Now, I use the word love here, but love is another word for purpose, for vision, for expansion, right? I want to build something to be able to help impact people. I want to build something to be able to serve people to a high level and really show up from that place where I am feeling great about what I do. I'm feeling great about the impact that I'm having, not because my ego needs it to feel validated, right? Which is a very, very fine line there. But it's something I just feel genuinely called to express in this world. I have gifts and talents that I want to express and help others with. That's coming from that place of love. But oftentimes, kind of like I briefly touched on there, we can confuse those two. We can feel like we're building from love and I want to have impact and I want to help people. But really, it's coming from the place of fear, where I want to impact people so that I can receive validation. I want to help people so that I feel good about myself, because again, I still haven't addressed this thing I'm really running from. And this is where the ego becomes this sly opponent that sneaks its way into our intentions, that causes them to be impure, right? Because we can have the purest intentions consciously, but if we're really under the surface building from fear, which is something we really have to be honest with ourselves about, we have to be able to go on the journey of purifying that, which is really the inner work, to be able to recalibrate and come from that clean fuel source of love, so that we're actually here to impact people in that way. So there are the two different fuel sources, and they tie directly into really what we're going to speak about next, is because when we start to embody more of the vision, the purpose side of things, and that is pure, then it's about then balancing the yogi and the warrior. So the next thing we're going to look at is these two different archetypes. And when we look at the warrior, we've briefly touched on it. This is more of the action taker. It's the one who is able to move forward and to be able to actualize things in the physical world, right? We're able to go out there and talk to the person, or make the phone call, or post a piece of content, or clarify the messaging, or make the offer, whatever the case is. It's all the things that you do in the physical world. Many times as entrepreneurs, we are incredibly good at doing those things. But there's also this other side of it. There's also this other side, which is the yogi. The yogi is the archetype that allows us to sit in the silence. It allows us to sit in the discomfort of the fuel source of fear that may have been driving us, so that we can purify it. It's also the energy that allows us to rest and play and enjoy life along the way, so that our mind is not just constantly focused on the dopamine that comes from work, but we're actually receiving the dopamine that comes from life, from being able to sit with yourself and your own emotions, your own thoughts, to be able to look out the window and see the beauty of the abundance that's all around us, to be able to see that everything is interconnected, to be able to see that we don't really need anything at the end of the day. And that doesn't mean that we start to lessen our desires, because naturally we're here to have desires. Your desires are your divine right. And when we tap into this yogi energy, what we're doing is we're releasing attachment to needing these things. But that allows us to come from a powerful, powerful place when we do take action towards those things. Because now we're doing it from a state of non-attachment where, yeah, I have this big vision. I want to help all these people. But you know what? I'm perfectly okay and I'm perfectly fine if this doesn't happen. And that's not saying it consciously, just being like, okay, yeah, I would be fine if it didn't happen, but underneath the surface, you would be terrified if that didn't happen. It's actually genuinely being okay if none of that happens. And that's easier said than done, don't get me wrong. So what we're looking at here is balancing these two. Now, the beautiful thing is we're learning different skill sets with both of these energies. When we look at the warrior energy, we're looking at the focus on the 20% that drives the 80% of the results. We're looking at and taking intentional action that's really going to move us forward and not just keep us busy. We're looking at really showing up from a place of confidence and courage when we are moving forward with the vision that we're actualizing in the physical world. That's a great skill set to have. It's incredible. It's needed. It's necessary. But on this other side, this yogi side, we are also learning the skill set of surrender, of trust, of being able to recalibrate, of being able to self-regulate, being able to recalibrate our energetic baseline, our nervous system, our subconscious, so that the level of wealth that we're actualizing here on the warrior side is also safe internally. Now, I recently recorded a video around the nervous system and how that affects income. You'll be able to check out that video somewhere around here. I'll link it here. But what we're looking at here is we're looking at these two skill sets, because both of them are required for not just fast success. I'm talking about long-term sustainable success in your life, and success meaning not just financial, but the peace that you feel, the family that you have, the friends and community you have, the business that you build, the clients you serve, or the products that you build. All of these things are in alignment, not just one. And you're not sacrificing yourself along the way. So I'm not talking about how to just get fast results in business here. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're really looking at a holistic way of living here. Success across all domains, not just one. So the next thing we're going to touch on here is purifying these desires, which ties directly into the question that was asked at the beginning of this video. When we look at this and we are driven by fear, we are driven by lack. Lack comes from the disconnection with self. So therefore, that manifests in a way where we look for external things outside of ourselves to give us a feeling that we're looking for at the deepest level in our soul. That could be a car, a relationship, a person, a mentor, a watch. It could be all of these different things. Now, what's important to understand here is that none of those things are bad. Everything is neutral. Watches are neutral. Beautiful homes are neutral. Community is neutral. All these things are neutral. But when we are building our desires from the mind or from the ego, because we are coming from this place of lack and fear, then those desires are not coming from what we truly want. They're coming from what we think we need to feel the love within that we are missing, or that we feel like we are missing. So the ego creates all of these different things for us to move towards, so that that can be the way that we achieve this internal state that we're really looking for. This is deep stuff, don't get me wrong. But it's important to understand that when we start to purify these desires, we start to let go of the fear. We start to let go of the lack. We start to go on the journey that we are whole within, and that's everybody's own unique path. We start to come from this place of love, this place of purpose, this place of vision. And it's not that we stop desiring these other things, or we lose the motivation to achieve those things. We just find out what it is that we actually want. Right? Which actually still may be the car. It may still be the house. It may still be the watch, because they're all beautiful expressions of creation. They're all beautiful expressions of what man can create and really what can come from the divine, right? Those are beautiful creations. For me, I love beautiful homes. I love staying in beautiful Airbnbs. I love being in beautiful environments. That's the big thing for me. I value that deeply. But then on the other side, cars are something I've never really felt that much of a pull towards. I've never personally owned a car. Never. Just never wanted to, never desired to. Now, that doesn't mean I won't have one in the future when I live somewhere full time and I'm not traveling and I can't, I don't have to bring it with me everywhere. But for me, the homes was a big thing. And that's an expression of my desires. And the reason I mentioned that is because I don't need the home to feel good about myself. It's more like I like the environment to create, because that allows me to show up and create great videos, and it allows me to be excited about where I'm living. That's what I like. But before, if I go back many, many years, I wanted to live in a beautiful home so that I could showcase it all over social media, so that people could like me, so that people could see that I'm like doing well. And yeah, that's been a part of my journey as well. But that was coming from a different energy. So there's a fine line between the two, and it has nothing to do with the actual thing itself. It's just finding out what is actually true for you. Like, what do you truly want? And the journey of really purifying that is going on that inner path, you know? So that's the staple to always come back to find out, where am I really being driven from? Like, where am I being pulled? Am I being pushed from the back? Am I feel like I'm running? Do I feel like I'm running from something? Or do I feel like I'm being pulled towards something because I feel like it's a genuine expression of who I am and what I value? And then I got to be careful of my ego coming in and actually distorting that vision, because I secretly under the surface need validation. That's where we got to be really, really careful, because that distorts the whole journey. It distorts the whole vision. So we got to be careful of that. That takes awareness, and that's its own journey in itself. The last thing I want to share with you here around this is balancing these different seasons, because now that we've discussed these different energies, and we've discussed, coming from fear, coming from love, being in the yogi energy, but also then being in the warrior energy, the balancing act is the hard part, because it's easy to just always be in action mode and always be in growth mode. But that comes at a cost of usually your peace, your happiness, potentially even your family, your friends, your community. Hopefully not those things, but sometimes they can be a cost as well. And that means you're constantly in go mode. And that's fine if you want to live there, but oftentimes you'll be pulled at some point away from that so that you can rest and recuperate. So the balancing act becomes, how can I tune into what I need most right now? How can I tune into the season that I'm in? The season that I'm in, is this a season of big growth? Is this a season of really going hard? And, have I got to this place where I feel very certain in myself? I feel courageous. I feel like I'm moving forward and I want to build that momentum. Or am I in a season where I kind of need to do some inner work? I kind of need to chill out a little bit. I need to recalibrate. I need to, yes, move forward and not just disown this side completely, but also honor the part of myself that needs attention. Is there things coming up that are limiting me in my growth? There's a beautiful quote that represents this very well from Alan Watts, which is, "The fall of man was to not recognize the other side." Now, this quote is from Alan Watts, but I know what he's referencing here is likely the book of Genesis, or else the Tao Te Ching. And this showcases this in a very beautiful way, where we have to acknowledge that there's two sides to everything. We have to acknowledge that there's seasons for everything as well. Now, of course, there's seasons where there's a mixture of both. There's seasons that are maybe a little bit more granular, where we're focused on socializing, we're focused on family, we're focused on whatever the case is. But really, we're looking at, how do we balance these two the best as possible? How do we make sure that, yes, yeah, we're moving forward, but right now, I don't need to move forward at this rapid rate from this rapid place of urgency. I need to recalibrate. I need to check in with myself. I need to make sure that this wealth I'm going to be building on this side from taking this action, I'm actually going to be able to hold it. I'm not just looking for quick wins and quick, big months, but then for it to all fall apart. I'm looking to stabilize and internalize this success I'm creating. I ought to be able to reflect and see, hey, is this actually the direction I want to move in? Or is there something here that's coming from this fear energy, this force? I got to be able to check in with myself. And those seasons are just as valuable, if not more valuable, because these are the ones that recalibrate everything internally. They're the ones where you rewire everything so that the action that you do take, it's clear, it's focused, it's courageous, and you already have the subconscious and the nervous system that's going to be there to support that moving forward. So it's exciting. So it feels like fun. So it feels like something you're genuinely excited about. It's a vision that you're moving towards. This recalibration here is where a lot of people have forgotten about. But I do believe that we're coming into this state within humanity, and especially within the online space where I'm, primarily focused on with my online business, where we're recalibrating to find this balance. And that's a beautiful thing. So with all of these different areas, there's seasons. There's seasons for both, and they're both equally valuable. And it's not one or the other, but we got to be able to see which side we need most by being able to check in with ourselves. And that checking in with yourself comes from that relationship that you build with yourself. And that comes from being over here in this yogi energy. Hopefully this video was clear to you. I would love to hear what's coming up for you. Drop it in the comments below. Any thoughts, any ideas, anything that's resonating with you, I would love to hear it. And if there's any questions, follow-up questions around this, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. Feel free to ask a question there. And I hope this serves you to the highest level, because when you can start to really balance these two energies, you'll find the magic of life. You'll experience the external success that you're looking for, but you'll also experience the internal fulfillment that comes with that as well. The peace of mind knowing that, yeah, you'll be moving forward, but you don't need to be coming from this place of urgency. You don't need to be coming from this place of fear and lack. It's actually coming from a place of wholeness. It's actually coming from a place of genuine love for yourself. And that's a magical place to be. And that's where you become magnetic to, the relationship that you want, the friendship that you want, the community that you want, the success that you want, the goals that you have, like all these different things. You become magnetic because your frequency, your energy, your vibration is in alignment with that true north that you're setting yourself towards. So I'm going to leave you with a beautiful quote from Paramahansa Yogananda and his book called Where is the Light? It's a different book than Autobiography from a Yogi, which is his primary book. And this is a series of different quotes from him as was documented throughout his life, which I think is really profound. It's something that I look at almost daily just to recalibrate myself as well. So it goes like this. Few people in this world try consciously to develop the potentials of the body, mind, and the soul. The rest are victims of circumstances of the past. They plod on, pushed by past wrong habits, helplessly going under their influence, remembering only, I am a nervous man, or I am a weakling, or I am a sinner, and so on. It lies in each one of us to cut with the sword of wisdom the cords of our bondage, or remain bound. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.